To achieve a deeper perception of reality and unveil the truth, it is fundamental to study the mechanisms of perception. On the other hand, to attain true perception, it is crucial to invest energy. The more energy we use in the act of perceiving, the better we understand the reality we are experiencing. The quality of perception directly depends on the energy we dedicate to observation. And the lack of energy is the primary barrier to achieving genuine perception, to progress towards liberation. We must consider ourselves as energy and learn to balance and conserve our energy to propel ourselves towards the unknown. Vital energy is a precious and limited resource that we often waste on useless thoughts, senseless worries, and draining emotions. In our quest for truth and liberation, we must learn to conserve and redirect this vital energy towards deep perception and understanding of reality. Furthermore, on our path to liberation, we encounter dark forces that have woven a complex web of illusion around us. Their goal is to keep us trapped in this illusion, hindering our ascent to higher planes of existence. They constantly drain our energy and obscure our perception, keeping us in ignorance to increase our energy and free ourselves from this trap. We must cease feeding these dark forces. This involves avoiding the constant waste of energy on futile thoughts and emotions, as well as activities that keep us enslaved. Recognizing these traps and avoiding falling into them is crucial to regaining control of our vital energy. We can increase our energy in various ways. For example, through the food we ingest, or through conscious breathing exercises or pranayama. But more important than increasing, it is conserving it. Most of our energy is lost due to external stimuli and negative emotions, which trigger cascades of repetitive and automatic thoughts. This keeps us exhausted and distracted. Most of these emotions and distractions access us through impressions. It is essential to understand that our existence is nourished by 3 types of food. The first is food and drink, which is essential, but we can survive for a while without it. The second is air prana, which enters our body through breathing. Breathing is even more vital as we can only last a few minutes without air. However, there is a third type of food that is perhaps the most crucial of all, and connects us to the physical world. Impressions. Impressions serve as invisible links between us and the world around us. These impressions are the threads that sew the external world to our consciousness. Every sensory contact, whether it's the news we see on television, a conversation, or the sun warming our skin, triggers a response in us. These impressions are the building blocks of our perception and experience of the 3-dimensional world. Unfortunately, unlike the food and air we breathe, we do not have a physical organ dedicated to the digestion and transformation of impressions. In most of us, these impressions access our psyche directly without a filter, generating automatic and mechanical behaviors and reactions that come to life and adhere to our ego, feeding it, distancing us from our true essence. Impressions are the raw material of our experience. Every image, sound, smell, sensation, and stimulus we perceive in the world becomes an impression in many ways. What we believe to be reality is simply a succession of impressions in our mind. If we didn't have the ability to see, hear, touch, smell, and taste, the external world would make no sense to us. Essentially, our lives are shaped by the quality of the impressions we experience and how we manage them. So how can we transform these impressions? The answer lies in consciousness. Consciousness acts as a filter between impressions and our mind. When we are conscious, we can choose how to process these impressions instead of reacting automatically. The act of transforming impressions relies on our ability to maintain constant self-awareness and not forget ourselves. The work involved in transforming impressions is termed the first conscious shock. We refer to this process as a shock because it cannot be mechanical. It requires conscious effort by embracing the first conscious shock. We begin to distance ourselves from a mechanical life and delve into the esoteric work of personal transformation. Esoteric work signifies a path of personal and spiritual development, that involves a deep understanding of human nature, our essence, and the pursuit of internal transformation. Transforming impressions is a fundamental aspect of this work. Many of the impressions that feed our perceptions are dispensable, just as with the food we ingest. We have the choice of what impressions we consume whenever possible. We should distance ourselves from bad news, negative and pessimistic people, or toxic environments. However, there are times when impressions are inevitable, and we must learn to manage them. Consider a practical example. Someone insults or belittles us. Without the filter of consciousness, this can generate feelings of anger or frustration, reaching our mind directly. These feelings of anger or frustration will be absorbed directly by the ego, creating a flow of negative energy that will be subtracted from our vital energy. However, by passing this impression through the filter of consciousness, and consciously reminding ourselves of our authentic essence, we can distill the situation. The sequence would be as follows. We receive the impression, the insult, and before integrating it, we consciously remind ourselves of our authentic essence by reminding ourselves and knowing who we are. We understand that the insult is insignificant, and we shouldn't give away our peace to anything external. By passing it through the sieve of consciousness, we have transmuted that event, preventing our energy from being drained to the ego. And we might even view the person who insulted us with compassion. When we don't forget ourselves in challenging situations, we interpose consciousness between the impression and our mind. This allows us to consciously change our response to that impression, instead of reacting mechanically and losing energy. By getting involved, we create a gap that allows us to transform the impression into something more positive and constructive. Self-awareness is the key to the process of transforming impressions and conserving our energy. When we forget our inner being in the presence of challenging situations or interactions with others, we lose our connection with self-awareness and our true self. We surrender control to our ego. The imposter, the process of liberation and the increase of energy is an individual choice. Free will is essential on this journey. It begins with our decision to seek truth and our willingness to evolve. The journey towards liberation and increased energy is not automatic or magical. It requires conscious effort and commitment. Only when we strive to eliminate the layers of illusion that imprison us and harmoniously accumulate our vital energy, can we break the shell that separates us from the absolute and merge with our true being. We free ourselves from the chains of illusion and find the absolute truth, which lies beyond the superficial appearances of three-dimensional reality. This is the path to truth, freedom, and fulfillment. The sought-after result is what ancient shamans referred to as stopping the world. The moment when everything around us ceases to be what it has always been. That's the moment when we return to the true nature of humanity. The ancient shamans also called it total freedom. It's the moment when the enslaved individual becomes the free being capable of perception and creation feats that challenge our linear imagination. Internal silence is a path that leads to the true suspension of judgment to a moment, when the sensory data emanating from the universe ceases to be interpreted by the senses. It is in that stillness that we have the opportunity to transcend this illusory reality and enter the realm of the eternal, of the spirit that we are in essence, through our mindful conscious attention directed inward, and the disconnection from the external world. We can approach our true essence, but we won't be able to carry out this task if we lack energy. When we give our energy to the ego, the mind becomes stronger and wins the battle against our will, distracting and diverting us from the direct path to our essence. This world is created to be a trap full of distractions, thus preventing us from becoming one with our being. But the power is within us. When we understand the impact that impressions have on our vital energy, we discover that our perceptions not only nourish our psyche, but are also the key to freeing ourselves from the three-dimensional illusion. When we learn to improve the quality of our impressions and conserve our vital energy, we advance on our path to freedom and fulfillment. Moving away from the chains that tie us to superficial reality, and approaching the truth found in the deepest existence. This is the pathway to truth, freedom, and fulfillment that all seekers of knowledge and enlightenment yearn to traverse.